Everybody loves the things you do, from the way you talk to the way you move. And everybody here is watching you, 'cause you feel like home. You're like a dream come true. But if by chance you're here alone, can I grab a moment before I go? 'Cause I've been by myself all night long, hoping you're someone I used to know. You look like a movie, you sound like a song. My God, this reminds me of when we were young. Let me photograph you in this light, in case it is the last time that we might be exactly like we were before we realized we were sad of getting old. It made us restless. It was just like a movie, it was just like a song. I was so scared to face my fears. Nobody told me that you'd be here. And I swear you'd moved overseas. That's what you said when you left me. You still look like a movie, you still sound like a song. My God, this reminds me of when we were young. Let me photograph you in this light, in case it is the last time that we might be exactly like we were before we realized we were sad of getting old. It made us restless. It was just like a movie, it was just like a song. When we were young, when we were young, when we were young, when we were young. It's hard to admit that everything just takes me back to when you were there, to when you were there. And a part of me keeps holding on, just in case it hasn't gone. I guess I still care. Do you still care? It was just like a movie, it was just like a song. My God, this reminds me of when we were young. When we were young, when we were young, when we were young. Let me photograph you in this light, in case it is the last time that we might be exactly like we were before we realized we were sad of getting old. It made us restless. Ooh, I'm so mad I'm getting old. It makes me reckless. It was just like a movie, it was just like a song. When we were young.
Hello everybody, how are you? I hope you're all very well. That song there was me singing Adele's When We Were Young, as I'm sure you'll all recognise. That was interesting actually. When I recorded that track, it was at a place called the Cream Rooms And that was with a man who is just so fantastic. They call him Martin, the producer, and he's just a really clever guy. He's somebody who just immediately knows when he's heard the right take, and it's done. But really, that day was quite crazy actually. On that day, it was when it was really hot. But it was really cool actually within the studios, but a lot of the equipment was struggling. And all of a sudden, we were listening to the final take of this particular song. And we decided, yes, this is the one. And literally, everything went down. And Martin said that's only the second time that has ever happened to him. And I had a sneaking suspicion it wasn't just to do with the heat. I think my mother might have been there because the spirit is very strong. And she's usually somewhere nearby when I'm singing. So I'd like to think that was part of the reason as well anyway. So actually, we will be talking a bit more about spirituality and my various sort of links with that aspect of life. I think we're all interlinked in that way. And that will be sharing a story, an account, a true story with relevance to my best friend Donna, and something that was very much to do with her family. And I've already asked, and she said it's okay for us to share the story at some point. But today, the first thing that I'm going to talk about was something that I was asked. So I'm going to answer the question right now. The show, basically the name of the show, Peach Gin, is quite a delicious drink. One evening we were all sort of having a nice evening and we were drinking some peach gin with Fever Tree and ice, and I had my flamenco straw and things like that. It was all very lovely. And it's actually quite strong. It's quite a strong drink, and because it's quite delicious, you don't realise the sort of effect that it's having. And we were chatting and laughing and talking about the flavours. And so you've got like the sweet, juicy peach and the sort of image that gives. And then you've got the really grown-up tones of gin. And we were sort of, discussing various things that we're doing with regards to obviously this and projects that my daughters are doing. And I said, you know what? I said, I think that pretty much describes the show that I want to create. Sweet and juicy, but with grown-up undertones. So then I said, we could call it Peach Gin. And it sounded, quite a good idea, but obviously we'd had a beverage at that point. So we put it to the table with the appropriate people, and it was agreed that was a good name. So that was where it came from, Peach Gin. So today, I'm going to move on now with regards to what I'd like to bring to the table, if you like, with reference to what we were kind of talking about last week, which was with regards of the vortex. Now, I don't know if any of you have managed to think about the show that I did last week. I hope so. If you haven't, and you tune in at some other point, please take a look at that show, because it's very relevant in sort of self-help and finding some sort of personal strategies just by finding your good place, your vortex. So what I wanted to try to do is to try and explain the journey that it looks like to me, how it looks to me. And it may not look the same to you, but it might help if I explain how it looks to me. And I think it begins with good intentions. A bit like my show, it's a good intention. And what comes from that then is, as far as I am concerned, the feeling is always positive and it's always good. Now, that's not to say that even with good intentions, mistakes can happen, and we have to obviously rectify and look at those mistakes and make right those things. But because we've come from a place of good, it's a different process, totally. It's very different to make a mistake compared to actually negatively aim something at somebody. that's completely different. And that's not what we want to achieve. If you mean no harm by your intentions, then this is good. So that was kind of a phrase that I felt kind of sums it up. But sometimes what happens is we allow others to experience our good intentions, and the sharing of that good intention then grows, and we have to be mindful that we stay to our path. Now, that isn't to say that if you wanted to connect, and the way that I sort of would express it would be to collaborate with other good energy, that's good, as long as it's done by choice and that you're not driven, because that's a different energy totally, and it's not really one that I would encourage to entertain. Anything that is a chosen collaboration is good. So that is part of the journey as we start to unwind and unpick how we travel through these different relationships and different circumstances and different things that hit us in life, because those things are still going to happen, but it's the pathway that we choose going through those things, and how we educate our minds and our bodies to actually deal with those things in a way that is primarily good and is functioning towards the good for you and those around you, which there we are with the good intentions. So what will happen, and definitely this has happened with me this week, is that there's lessons to be learned. And, you know, again, I think we're all really here to learn and to teach. Every day is a school day. Okay. That was something that someone once said to me, and I thought, is that being condescending? But no, it is true. If you open yourself up to the thought of every day being a school day, it's a winner to me. So anyway, these lessons that I've had to learn this week have kind of helped me understand how I stay within my vortex, and it will help you understand how you can stay within yours. I've been challenged with regards to feeling and emotion, and the kind of that feeling when something is trying to affect and infiltrate for whatever reason. Don't try and think about why, because that gives it air and you're collaborating then with that negativity. Just try and sort of understand that when I felt like this with regards to some issues that I was dealing with, I had to use my own positive force to actually avoid the intentions. I intellectually took on board what this other energy was telling me, so that it wasn't going to knock me off course, because that's a whole another teaching, but there are things that do try to take you off course. That's sometimes when you're realigning, but that's another sort of situation. But what sort of built for me this week was the extraordinary enlightenment of how easy it is to stay within that vortex, and to not allow these sort of incidental things, or sometimes things that people mean to do, because sometimes people will mean to want to knock you off of what you're doing. But if you're doing it with a good intention, ignore, because that's the whole point. That's what I'm doing here. My intentions are absolutely good, and I'm on my perch here, and I just hope that good intention feeds across and helps deliver positivity to anyone who's watching, because it's easy. It's so easy to choose to be the governor of what it is that's happening to you, regardless of what's happening to you. Okay, your response, you are the governor. That led me on to understanding that sometimes these challenges are the first steps. They're the first realizations. So don't ever think, really, let's try and sort of think about these methods that we're learning here. And please share them with me. Get in touch, share them with me. I would absolutely love to hear, if anybody is trying to get within their vortex, let me know, because that will only enhance my positive, and I will love that. So I still managed to understand the incoming, but I still managed to keep going with regards to the fact that it was of no use, no value for me to give in to that, or to be a force against that. That's not where the benefit lies. So the only sort of other way that I decided I could explain is we have within our inner voice, within our inner self, within our vortex. The only way I describe it for me is, I imagine, probably quite sort of 80s, because I had like a little sort of hi-fi set thing when in the 80s. So I kind of visualize these old-fashioned sort of knobs. And they are very powerful, because you can decide what you're turning up and what you're turning down. Now this big knob here, that's your inner voice. Okay, so sometimes, yes, we do need to lower that down and engage and totally give ourselves, normally creatively for me. But if we choose to turn that down, to listen to this negativity, that's when we start to lose. That's when we start to feel that deep foot pulling down. Example, supermarket again. I know that's the only place I go. But anyway, supermarket, went shopping. When I see people, and I know that there are going to be relevant circumstances where people can't wear masks. But it was a bone of contention for me at the beginning. It was a problem for me because I didn't see that for those sort of healthy amongst us to sit there and make excuses as to why you can't wear a mask. It just seemed really difficult for me to understand and that concept, because this one gesture that we could make to help each other by being masked was being ignored, I felt, by some people. So we went to the shopping supermarket to do the shopping, and I sort of decided that I was going to, test myself. So there were a few sort of people that immediately were wearing the sort of the under the chin business, and I sort of looked with my mask on. I've got a nice glittery mask, and I'm looking, and I just had this kind of debate with myself. Right, so one, I understood why I felt like that, okay, which I've just explained. Number two, I discussed with myself the value of me actually approaching that person and explaining to them how I felt. Three, I also thought about the fact that that kind of isn't right to be approaching people like that, because there might be a reason. And after all, who am I? I'm not the mask police. I don't know who is, but anyway. And so the outcome was not going to be good. Regardless that my intentions were good, it was absolutely the right choice not to do anything. And sometimes that is what happens in life. And the only thing that I could do that was positive, which was at the end of the sort of shopping expedition, was to just explain to the security people. I don't know if there is anyone that goes around and sort of checks on the masks, but that would possibly be a good idea, because I've noticed that there's quite a few people that are kind of pulling them off once they're in. That was the only way that I could act on that intention to want to do good without creating what I had debated within myself, which was clearly going to not be positive. It could have been a negative, exchange. Might not have been, but I think I was right to not sort of do anything. So that kind of translates into other situations that you could find yourself in life. And I did say when I was having a conversation about this that I really wished that I'd found this method a lot sooner in my life, because I do fear that I've possibly put myself into challenging positions, and it has hurt me. It's made me unwell because I very empathetic, probably too empathetic at times, and sort of situations with regards to health matters and trying to help with my parents and things that were going wrong. I think if I'd have had this method, I would have still had positive outcomes, which thank goodness I was quite relentless in those pursuits. But it was the loss of my health, if you like, at those times. I do question that if I'd had this method, whether that would have been the case. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because as much as sometimes we might want to convince ourselves that by feeling unwell, by feeling exhausted and so on and so forth, that we're in some way giving more. And that's just simply not always the case, unless it's a sort of arduous circumstance where you're physically exerting yourself. Then yes, that's a kind of different thing. But to internally and emotionally exhaust yourself to a point where you are physically unwell is something that this technique is absolutely wonderful to use. And I just wished, as I say, that I'd have known about it when I was younger. And I do hope that in this circumstance, because as we grow and move forward out of lockdown, as I've said before, we are all changed. We will find ourselves changed. And I hope predominantly for the good. But there will be things that people recognise in us that are very different. And the only way that is the way forward, and this is again another sort of expression that I've chosen, which hopefully will identify what I mean, and that is the phrase self-preservation. Choose self-preservation. Because in doing that, again, as I've said before, that's what provides often the support and the help to others. And we can be of absolute value to those people then. And we can come home and not sort of, fall to the floor and be exhausted over the matter. It can be a growing process for everybody in these circumstances. So this is why I say we must sort of be kind. I've heard this lots over lockdown. I don't know why it's only just sort of become more prominent now. I think we should always be kind. It's a bit like the hand washing now. What was that all about? I mean, just do people not have hand soap? But anyway, again, I digress. But that was crazy. But kindness is absolutely key to self-preservation, and it's absolutely key that you must treat yourself as if you would somebody else who you really love and who you really care about, because otherwise you're not balanced. The balance isn't there at all. So just basically in the same way that you would kindly respond to someone that you love, afford yourself that same thing. Eat well, feel well, do well, be good. It's really simple to me. And I hope the hope is that that's translating across to you. And as I say, please get in contact. Look for other YouTube videos that explain with regards to the vortex how we can simplify the things that we can do, but absolutely enhance by infinity how we're feeling about ourselves every day. And surely, this is something that should positively have come from lockdown. The insular feeling that some people have felt, it kind of takes you inward. It takes you to that inner voice, because, we've all tried to move forward. We've all tried to be positive. And with regards to the positive energy that can translate from those journeys that we've had, where the times have been, that we're inside and we want to go outside. I mean, today, wasn't it beautiful? Oh, it was just so lovely to see the sun and to think I don't need to have my jacket on. I mean, obviously I get to see the sun every day because that's my dog. But with regards to, you know, how that sort of feeling makes you feel, that's one of those feelings that you can bring into your vortex, that feeling of freedom, that feeling of warmth on your face from the sun after, you know, it being cold for so long. You know, those are the things that we must remind ourselves of. And I'm just going to sort this out because obviously it's going to all tumble down. That's my script for today. And yes, Mr. Reed, I will be making some noise there. But anyway, so I hope that, you know, you'll understand the points that I've made with reference to the supermarket. I'm sure there's some of you out there that probably feel the same sort of way as I do, and there'll be some that feel the complete opposite. I do know that for the future, until we're in such a place, I shall just remain with my mask. I'm quite happy to do so. And, you know, as we roll out the vaccines, it becomes safer, and those people that we need to look after those people that are vulnerable within the society. And as we move forward, we must continue to never forget this that's happened, because, you know, we don't want it happening again, but we must learn by it. Don't look at it as a wasted year, isn't it, or more. Don't look at it like that. Try to find what the lessons are within what it is that we've had to, you know, endure, I suppose. So I've got to figure out what buttons I'm pressing here, actually. I'm not totally 100% sure. I've been left on my own as well, which if there's anybody out there who could come and help me, that might be really nice, because I'm going to be coming to my close in a minute, just revealing my lack of technical knowledge here. So a bit of help would be really good, as I would say usually. Help me! But anyway, in the meantime, I do hope that you will all take care. I'm obviously, you know, sending out love. If there's anyone that's, you know, having any sort of troubles or things like that at the moment, I do hope that you're finding your way through and you're able to maybe get a little bit of enlightenment if you're watching this. That's my intention. I hope that I managed to bring a smile at least at some points to some faces there. I hope that you liked the song. That's going to be available on the website to listen to. And one moment, this here, isn't it? Yes. So I was just confirming. Sorry, I'm just showing how rubbish I am. Need to put like big stickers there with a big finger arrow, and then I'll know. As if I put my glasses on, because I don't have those on either. But anyway, yes. So, you know, lean on each other, be there, be kind. That's what it's all about. And I'm going to wish you all a good evening. Have a really good funky Friday, or have a good day, afternoon, morning or night, wherever you are or whatever you're doing in the world. Just stay safe, stay well, stay clean and masked with the clean masks, and keep in your own lane. That's, I think, the one for the supermarket for sure. But anyway, as I say, keep focused. I'm sending you all my love, and I wish you peace.